Hey y'all, it's me, Dr. Smeenerman, Gyno Girl. I'm so excited about this episode today. Gyno Girl presents sex, drugs, and hormones. You guys are in for a treat. Today we have two individuals here today to discuss a feature film that is being circuited around many festivals and hopefully coming to one near you soon. It's called Lady Parts, and it's regarding a lot of what we talk about here on this podcast. And so I'm super excited to interact today and interview Bonnie Gross and Nancy Boyd. Bonnie Gross is the actual writer and producer of this feature film, and Nancy Boyd is the director. Bonnie Gross is an award-winning comedy writer and producer with a passion for telling stories around vulvovaginal health. Originally from Philadelphia, but now a New York transplant, she earned her bachelor's in media production from the University of Alabama and completed the UCLA professional program for TV comedy writing. And Nancy Boyd she's amazing as well. She was raised in a small town in Michigan. During her college career, at Madonna University, she studied both film and music, and she was always eager to direct music and videos. She has earned 19 nominations and 7 student production awards from the National Association of Television Arts and Scientists. And she's also had the opportunity to be this on-the-set photographer for 3 feature films and 2 seasons of the internationally syndicated show, The Dr. Nandi Show. She's amazing. She is the director of this feature film, which I'm super excited to see. I watched I watched the clip recently, and it was so funny and really poignant. I mean, it's telling a story about Bonnie Gross's actual experience, and I'm going to turn it over to her in a minute. But I always talk about, are we brave or shameless by talking about all these issues? And I think you're totally brave for bringing yourself into the realm and discussing a kind of complicated issue. A lot of people get discounted. We talk about how gaslighting occurs in the medical profession all the time on the show. But I'm just going to go ahead and give you guys the stage. Welcome to my podcast. I'm super excited. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the journey, how you got it, how you decided to do this, and everything. Welcome, Bonnie and Nancy.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. We're super excited to be here. Yeah, as you mentioned, this was based on my own story. So I struggled for years. I think I went to 15 doctors because I was having painful sex. And I was like, it feels like a knife is digging into me and I can't figure out why. And it was a lot of medical gaslighting, a lot of, I don't know what's going on with me. And finally, I saw Dr. Goldstein in New York, Dr. Andrew Goldstein, yes, who was able to. I went to the New York office and I finally got a diagnosis, and we tried a couple things, but I ended up getting a vulvar vestibulectomy. I ended up then doing the 6-week bed rest, moving back home with my parents, and then moving to dilators and kind of figuring out the whole vaginismus and pelvic floor tension that happened as a result of having all the nerve problems. And after that experience,
is yours like the congenital form, or did they think you acquired it over time?
They think I acquired it over time. I also had chronic
pain-free sex at some point.
Yeah. Well, not pain-free sex. I always had problems putting in tampons,
Okay.
but because I always had like a pelvic floor issue as well. Like my pelvis is tilted and I have scoliosis and a bunch of other stuff.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of the nerve ending stuff kind of ended up coming up like more after puberty. And I was getting a lot of chronic yeast infections, which they think is kind of because that's also an issue. I went to a lot of places that gave me fluconazole and I was like, it's not working. And I had a yeast infection for about 3 years on and off. And they think the inflammation caused it to just, get way worse than it was.
Yeah, and I think the understanding now is that, you get these mast cells that proliferate and the nerve endings proliferate at the opening. And when that happens, you just get this severe, what we call allodynia, where you have this abnormal pain sensation, with touch of like a Q-tip or whatever.
I would always tell people it's not just sex. Like I would sit down, I would sit on a bike, I would wear tight pants, and it would feel like someone was taking a knife, like a hot knife to it. And, you're constantly going to doctors who are like, it's no big deal, just drink a glass of wine, you're fine. Yeah, and you're like, no, not at all.
And I'm just like, what's the obsession with that? Telling people to have a glass of
They're
Very
Yeah,
sponsored by the wine companies.
yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Every
big
one of my
wine.
patients has been told that at some point, which is astounding, actually.
Really?
Hmm.
I find it crazy too because you're going to a doctor
Yeah.
and they're and I was told that I think even underage when I would go to a student health center or something. I was
Yeah.
19 and they were like, "Yeah, just get a friend to buy you a glass of wine or something, chill out." Or and I'm like, "That's insane."
Right. Like that's been the rhetoric since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, that underlying misogyny and that rhetoric of being in your head is just, still pervasive, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's still a lot of places I've gone. Until I found Dr. Andrew Goldstein, that was like the first person that even took it seriously and was like, we're actually going to come up with a plan to figure out what this is. And I can tell you're in pain, so we're not even going to do a speculum. We're not even going to do. And I was like, oh, that's an option? You can do that? That's crazy that these things exist. So after I got the surgery and stuff, I kind of got angry and I was like, why is no one talking about this? Why do I feel shameful even talking to my friends about this? Because everyone's like, oh, what surgery are you getting? And I felt like I couldn't tell anyone what kind of surgery I was getting. And
Well, vestibulectomy, although is like, an outpatient sort of minor surgical procedure, the healing of it is really extensive for patients. It's not something that you can say, oh, I'll just have a vestibulectomy tomorrow, but you have to plan for like 6 weeks of like, sedentary lifestyle and all this stuff because this is a dependent area. You're sitting on it all the time. And yeah,
yeah, when you do the surgery, you're not allowed to sit on a chair. You're not allowed to put any, because that would put pressure. You have to be like flat on your back. You can't separate your legs at all for the 6 weeks. So you're just constantly like having muscle spasms there. You can't shower for the first week. You're only using a sitz bath to like pat dry. It's an intense surgery. It's not just a quick, easy in and out type thing.
right. And
Um,
then on top of that, and then your muscles get super hypertonic afterwards because you've been in pain for 6 weeks, and then you have to go into
yes.
physical therapy.
Yes. So we immediately jumped into physical therapy and dilators after that. And that was a whole other thing. I was like, why is no one talking about this part of it either? And I felt like until I actually met Nancy, I did not know another person with even like any of these disorders, and specifically like vaginismus. Like I was thinking, oh, this is this crazy thing that happened to me, and I was like, well, I'm going to write about it because this deserves to be, told out loud. Because I wrote a blog post after the surgery, and I got a lot of feedback from people saying, oh, actually, I know someone with this, or actually, do I have this? Is this something? And so I was like, oh, this is something. This needs to be a story we tell. And that's where it kind of got started. I went to UCLA and it got started there. As a script, I started there.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. How old were you when you had your surgery?
I was, oh God, it was 2016. So I want to say I was
Okay.
22
Well,
years old.
8 years ago.
It was
Yeah.
like right after, yeah. In real life, I had it after college. And in the story, we have her have it at 26 after she's kind of been in LA and trying to get her dream job and everything. So we changed it, to fit the format of 90 minutes. So it would make more sense, but
Right. Right.
same thing.
Awesome. Oh, wonderful. So how did you and Nancy meet then?
We
So
actually met because Bonnie works with one of my best friends that I've known since kindergarten. And they work together at this post house called Light Iron, who has also been super helpful to us through this whole process. And Bonnie told Megan about the script that she was writing, and again, Megan said, "Wow, my friend Nancy has a broken vagina as well. You guys should talk." And I was going to school at USC at the time for filmmaking, and I directed a feature film before that, and I was looking to direct another one. And it just kind of all worked out super well because I read Bonnie's script, and in the first scene, it's about this like 12-year-old girl who can't put a tampon in. And I was like, oh, that was me. I know exactly how I can direct this because that is my experience. And I also like felt this, I don't know, like I wanted to keep it safe. Like I was like, oh my goodness, like I've been here I know what this experience is like. I want to like nurture this scene and like show how it really is. Like I felt very protective of it. I was like, we've gone through this together, Bonnie. We weren't together, but we were together even though we didn't know it. And so we brought it to life.
Funny.
The same
Nancy,
middle
do you
school
mind telling
bathroom.
us
I know
about
it.
your journey with vaginismus? I did my first 2 episodes, with patients who had vaginismus and myself talking
Yeah.
about my own vaginismus journey. Can you tell us? So yours was your broken vagina was just vaginismus, or was there
Yeah.
other confounding factors? Not
Just
just. Sometimes you can have primary vaginismus, and sometimes it can be secondary to like a vestibular problem.
yeah. Just a primary vaginismus. I could never put a tampon in. That was never something that I could do. And I just thought that I was doing it wrong, or maybe I was just like scared of them in general. And the reason I was scared was because I was feeling pain, or like you would try to get it in there.
Hit a wall
Yes,
with a thrombosis, yeah.
the hitting the wall is exactly what it was feeling like. And I remember like maybe I would get it in like a little bit, and then you do the classic vaginismus waddle with the tampon in because it's just you can't get it in there all the way. And I'm like, it hurts. And people are like, well, it shouldn't hurt if it's in there, right? I'm like, well, it does. I'm not just a baby. um, and then I became sexually active. And I was like, am I just dumb? Do I just not know where the hole is? Or like, what's going on here? Because again, you're hitting that wall and nothing can go in there at all.
That's
And
what
it
so many
does, it
patients
hurts.
feel. They're like, "Am I something wrong with me?" Because like 15-year-olds are doing this, and I'm like 30 years
Exactly.
old, and I can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I kept thinking like it is designed to have things go inside of it. What like it should work, right? Like it should be easier than this. And then I thought like, oh, maybe it's just not easy. Maybe people say that it's easy, but it's not. Like maybe it's just this little secret and everyone feels this way. And then I went on to realize that is not the case. um, and I had a much smoother experience than Bonnie in that way. Is that I was able to go to a doctor in Los Angeles that immediately I didn't even say the words vaginismus, but I was going to my first like gynecologist, and it was my first like exam, and I was like 26, I think, something like that, because I was really nervous to ever go because I was like it's gonna hurt.
vaginismus and vestibulodynia patients tend to avoid, like
Yes.
even though they know, like we know that we should be going, but
Mhm.
in our head we think no, and then it just like years build up.
Yes. So
Yep.
I went later on, and then I said, like, I'm really nervous because, like, I feel a lot of pain with penetration. And they were like, is it just during sex or is it during other times? Like, is it during, like, masturbation or, like, is it during, like, and I was like, I can't put a tampon in. And they're like, oh, you can't put a tampon in. It sounds like you might have vaginismus. And I was like, oh, what? And then they like did an exam and they saw how I was doing with everything, and then they were like, you should get some dilators. And actually, funny enough,
Did they teach you how to use the dilators? Because that's
they
the other.
did, they did, yes.
Good. Oh,
Before,
you had a good one then.
yeah, they were really wonderful, and it was very LA, so it was very woo woo. So I was like, I'm having pain, and they're like, well, one, just tell us to stop. And if you don't feel comfortable telling a doctor to stop, we can choose whatever word you want, and you could just say it, and we'll stop. And I was like, okay. Yeah, and then they were like, "Here's some lavender spray. Look at the circle and breathe." And I was like, "Honestly, I'll take all of it. Thank you."
That's wonderful. Wow, that's good. Well,
So,
that's good. I mean, I think that's the issue is finding the right, you know, medical system, or healthcare provider, whoever you want to call it. Did you
Yeah.
end up doing physical therapy too?
I did a little bit.
Uh-huh.
I did a little bit of dilator therapy, but as you know, it's hard to do.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And so I think
Yeah.
with grad school and everything, it just kind of like
Yeah.
went on the back burner for a
Uh-huh.
little bit. But definitely, I have a set. I've done some of it, but it's
Because it
tedious.
recurs sometimes. Your body's just a muscle
I
memory, and it just contributes.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say I still am in physical therapy on and off too, and still have my
Right.
dilator set from 2016 because
Yeah.
life gets hard and it's really hard to
Yeah.
keep up with.
Hmm.
Yep. Yep. You have like busy life and you get anxious about things and you start clenching and then there goes your pelvis.
There it
So,
goes.
Nancy, would you mind me asking, did you grow up in any kind of religious background?
I did. Yeah, I grew
I,
up Catholic.
yes. Okay. So we see it in we see primary vaginismus a lot in like religiously brought up individuals, and there's a
Yeah.
degree of religiosity is sometimes correlated with sexual pain. And although I don't know the statistic for Catholic women, I know Muslim women because I treat all the religions that they all come in. We always okay, sex shaming was a big part of this, and
Yeah.
I wasn't supposed to have anything in my vagina, so like now I'm supposed to and I can't kind of thing.
Yes.
But at least the studies that we've done, like in terms of like the Muslim population, like 40% of them have sexual pain in
Oh
their lifetime.
my
So
God.
it's really staggering. I'm sure it's similar in other religious categories too, because there's so much sex shaming involved.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
okay,
I
that's what I was.
mean, it's scary. Like, we're told if we do this, we could go to hell, and like we're supposed to just be like fine.
Eternal damnation.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
that's scary, guys.
the stake cannot be higher.
The stakes could not be higher.
All is in jeopardy. Yes.
Yeah, no wonder we're clenching.
Yeah. Anybody would. Well, I mean, thanks for sharing your stories. Let's talk about the movie now, the feature
Yeah.
film. How long did it take? What was the process? Like, what's it about? I wonder if we can get an audio clip.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a trailer we can send you, or we can also just send you a clip from the movie. Like,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. I
And
think
you
we
know, 'cause
test.
we do have it on. I have some of my podcasts on YouTube, the actual scene or the
awesome.
audio.
Great.
Oh, amazing.
Okay,
That's
cool.
great.
All right.
Metro Gynecology, how can I help you?
Hi, I'd like to make an appointment. So it's kind of like a knife digging in kind of pain. It's only down there. Next Monday at 3 p.m. Works great. I'll take it. Thank you so much. My new dog sat on a cheese grater.
Didn't know you had a dog.
Yeah. Poor thing. Happens more than you think. Everything hurts. Tampons, tight pants, riding a bike, sex.
Your lady parts?
So it seems that Paige's symptoms are the result of vulvodynia, specifically vulvar vestibulitis syndrome.
Ooh. So I'm going to have surgery on my vagina, and then I can just go back to my life? They're not gonna hold this job for me for a year while I'm getting my vagina in working condition.
You should be grateful that you have a place to come home to.
I'm gonna figure out how we're gonna pay for all this.
This is your daughter's vagina we're talking about. Money is secondary.
I'll come right back.
Again, my vagina, not a family affair. I'm writing up a blog post.
Are you gonna post it?
It's like really personal. I mean, no one's gonna read it anyways.
Paige, do you have a moment to chat?
Honey, you do whatever you are comfortable with. I am positive that people would benefit from your story.
I used to ask myself, what's wrong with me? Why aren't I normal? My vagina's gonna be just fine. I got fucked up nerve endings. Oh? You called me crazy. So I think I'm gonna have another...
Not it. Not it.
Have you tried yoga?
I can always do more.
So tell us how so you had written about it already, and how did this whole process evolve, and how long did it take?
So I got the surgery in 2016, and then I started writing it in 2017. I moved out to LA. I was sleeping on an air mattress, bought a one-way ticket with no job and no place to live, and made awesome decisions for my life. Yeah, I made great decisions. And I know it's fine. But I ended up taking night classes at UCLA, working in post, and I really started like honing in on the story because I saw how impactful it was. There was even someone in my writing group that I was paired with at UCLA who had very similar issues, and we started talking about it, and she's like, wow, I had no idea like anyone else had this. And it was really a cool experience. And so I'd say around the pandemic was more when I had a lot more time because I was beautifully furloughed and, um, moved back in with my parents again and was bartending. So it actually was like the perfect storm for me to be like in my childhood bedroom again, being like, okay, guess what? Let's relive this again and kind of rework the script. And when I started to, be like, I'm gonna go self-produce this because it's really hard to find someone to give you money to say, hey, we believe in vulvovaginal and pelvic pain stories, and we want to tell this. So it was a hard sell. And
Collecting, actually, as a side note, if you're collecting still for production purposes, I don't know that we can maybe put a link in our bio or the show notes.
Okay. Definitely for festival submissions, we need that.
And marketing, we would love it.
Yeah.
So basically, I took my entire life savings, and then we did some rounds of Indiegogo and crowdfunding, and we had some support from some sponsors like Intimate Rose, who donated to us, and then I got introduced to Nancy, and then we found Ola, who was our DP, who was a client actually at Light Iron, where me and Megan work, and it kind of just started to all come together. And then we were on set. I'll let Nancy take it from there.
Yeah. I mean, we took the crazy leap, and like Bonnie said, it's so hard to get funding when you're a small indie feature talking about vaginas. But especially, I mean, I just saw like something from Hello Sunshine recently that was saying that it's very, very hard for women to especially get funding. I'm sure it's like that in every aspect of the world, but it's like that in the film industry. And women receive like 63% less distribution than like films directed by men and stuff. So there was a lot up against us. And so I remember Bonnie said, like, should we do this now? Should we wait? And Bonnie and I were both kind of like, no, we're not going to wait. We're just going to do it. Like, when you are women in film, you cannot wait for permission. You just have to do it. And so we did. And it was crazy, but we did it. And we filmed for about a month. And again, we were a super low budget production. It felt kind of like summer camp. Our main actress, Valentina Tomorrow, is incredible. And she talks about how it was amazing to be on a set with pretty much all women. Like, women were most of the department heads on our set. And she said that everything ran very smoothly and it was very communicative and we all listened to each other. And then we were singing to the Jonas Brothers in between things. Bonnie cut my bangs one night before set. And I mean, it truly was that summer camp vibe because we were all like living in the same Airbnb that we were filming in. So when Valentina, who plays Paige, goes back to her childhood bedroom and she has to, find what she lost in herself in her youth and rebuild herself while healing from her vulvar surgery. Valentina was literally staying in that childhood bedroom and sleeping there. So she was kind of eating, sleeping, and breathing the movie. And it was just
the best, right?
It truly was. And it was just like such a wonderful time. Like, I think that when you have constraints, which for us mostly was money, those were our constraints. I think that it causes you to be more creative. And I think that we did that in such a wonderful way. I think that it brought us closer together because we literally had to be at close quarters. And it created this camaraderie that was just amplified because of the situation that we were in. And one creative thing that we had to do is creative problem solving. So, for instance, a couple of our doctor scenes takes place in a BDSM dungeon in LA called Threshold. I called over there and I was like, "Do you guys have a med play room?" So, we thought of creative ways to get the story told, and it was just a blast. I mean, our DP, Olo Lobby, is just incredible, and it was so important.
What a DP is, just in case people.
Yes, of course. So she was our camera operator, and
Yeah.
she came up with like the visual storytelling of the movie.
Oh,
So Ola and I sat
DP
down,
stands for like
director of photography.
director.
Yes. So Ola and I would sit down and talk about like one of the things that was important to us was that whenever, because we have some like intimate scenes in the movie, like showing like masturbation or a couple of sexual encounters, and we wanted to make sure that in any of those moments, Paige was as clothed as possible. We wanted to show the least skin as possible while also being real. And then when we were seeing medical moments or moments of healing, that's when we showed like the nudity and the vulnerability. So I think Valentina, like when there are sex scenes, we see Paige and we just see like up here for her, but we're not scared of nudity at all. It's just we wanted to kind of flip the male gaze in its way. So you only see like a full nude shot when her mom is like washing her during surgery. So we just wanted to kind of flip it on its head.
Flip it on its head. Perfect. I love it.
And another really cool thing, Nancy could talk about this too. We had an intimacy coordinator, Allison Bibclock, who is incredible. And I know it was my first time, Nancy's first time working with an intimacy coordinator, and it just made the whole place feel safe. It's comfortable, like, because a lot of times people hear sex scenes, masturbation scenes, and stuff like that. And I think it was really important for our story to have an intimacy coordinator like on set for those days.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's really nice.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So take us through like the actual story. So it's your story, Bonnie, right? So is it basically how you figured out and I know I saw the trailer with one doctor scene. Are there multiple doctor scenes or?
Yeah, so there's multiple doctor scenes.
You get the full gaslighting.
Okay. There's some gaslighting for sure.
Okay.
We see a lot of we're in stirrups, we're in exam table rooms, we are in just a doctor's office talking at one point. But the story really centers around our main character Paige, who has just got this really cool opportunity, like a dream job in LA, and she's dealing with all this pain, of course. And she gets her dream job, but she has to turn it down, move back home with her parents, get a vulvar vestibulectomy, and kind of take this year off of her life to then do the recovery and the PT and the dilators. And throughout the process, even though it's about her getting, her vestibulectomy, it's also about her finding agency over her own body, gaining confidence, in her own writing and her own story, and, connecting with other, people about vaginas and vulvas and all these fun issues. And it's a comedy, but it's also a family affair. Her parents we kind of flipped the script on that too. I think a lot of people expected the parents to be these parents that are like, we don't want to talk about it, it's shameful. And instead they're overbearing, too involved.
We have to fix your vagina.
Exactly.
Yeah, overbearing Jewish parents, to the extreme. Yeah. And very much like my parents are. Don't tell them I said that.
Like your mom is not listening to every podcast you're on, Bonnie.
I know. She has no idea.
You needed that. You needed that for your whole process and recovery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was so important. And I think it was really important to kind of show, like, yes, this mother figure, but also a father figure who is not sexualizing this at all and is coming from a perspective of my daughter's in pain. I want to fix that pain and I'm there for her. And having male figures that could act that way is also really important and cool to the story. But yeah, that's what it mainly follows that year at home.
I was going to say, I think that something really beautiful about our story too is that we go into that when you care about yourself enough and take the time to heal your body and to rest, it means that you will then take the time to heal your soul and become a better person. And that's what she does.
Oh, that's wonderful. Because, we're all on the go all the time and we don't take care of ourselves. And and I think this is the issue with some of my patients too, is like, unless you're like forced, I mean, I have like 3 or 4 patients now who are waiting to get their vestibulectomies because they don't have the time to do it right now.
Yeah.
So it's like on pause because I'm a grad student, on pause because I'm finishing X, Y, or Z, So,
Yeah. It was a big, yeah. And like to Nancy's point about that, what we always said too is even if you're not getting a vestibulectomy or you don't have vaginismus or vulvodynia or any of these, there's something in the story you can relate to. Maybe you've had to move back home with your parents. You've had to take a step back in your career. You've had a medical procedure that put you out. You took time to rest and found yourself. And there's so many things.
You can't work at work like you should be able
Yeah.
to, like any woman,
Yeah.
all of it.
There's so much.
But I love that male advocacy piece because I feel like, and just like the family advocacy, like I always like, even when I do talks on menopause or whatever, I mean, you might not be that person going through this, but you might have a mom or a sister or a friend or a coworker or somebody. And if you're that one person that actually A, listens to that patient, and B, actually can like actually support their advocacy, you can make a world of difference in someone's life. And, and that translates into making a difference in other people's lives because the advocacy builds on itself, right? So
we actually had someone come up to us at one of the festivals, the last festival that we were at, and said, I'm a dad, and I'm so glad that I watched this because when my daughter grows up, if something happens, I know what to do. Like if this happens, I know like how I need to handle it, and I'm not going to be freaked out by it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just learning one of the biggest problems, okay, I mean, I talk about medical gaslighting a lot, but the truth of the matter is, there's a system problem, right? That we have a system problem. The system problem is, nobody really focuses on women's health. Nobody teaches residents or medical students, and this is where I like really push the envelope on how to deal with these patients. So what happens? Like, I don't know, just have a glass of wine. I don't know, maybe you'll feel better. Like they don't know what they don't know. And so sometimes, people's egos might get in the way or whatever, but the reality is our system is just totally broken and the access to getting this care is so remarkably difficult that I love that you are able to really, even help someone figure out how to make a journey for themselves, right? Like how to actually navigate that system.
Yeah, I remember in 2015, after I'd found Dr. Andrew Goldstein in New York, I was interning here before my senior year. And then my appointments, because I was going to college at University of Alabama. So just to get to an appointment in New York, I would need to drive 3 hours to Atlanta. I'd park my car, take the MARTA to Atlanta Airport, take the fly from Atlanta to LaGuardia, and then there was like bad LaGuardia at that time. So then it was like 2 buses and a train, go see the doctor, get on a bus to Philly. My parents would pick me up, and then I'd sleep over, and the next day they'd drive me back, and I'd do the whole thing in reverse, and then go back to class. Like nothing was happening, and we're just discussing, should we get the surgery? Should we try this? And so the access to care, unless, is horrible, then, it's not covered by insurance. So there's a lot of affordability, accessibility, economic problems. And I'm really lucky and privileged that I had the means to go see Dr. Andrew Goldstein and supportive parents. And I know not everybody gets that. So it's like, I'm very privileged, and I even had a hard time accessing proper care.
Right. And to speak to that as well, like even trying to find like I was taught, because I'm on the board of directors at the International Society for the Women's Study of Women's Sexual Health, ISWISH. And I'm actually part of the scientific committee this year for our big annual conference. And I wanted to see, like, maybe we can even get you guys to come there and show a snippet, or maybe we could have a movie night or something.
We'd love that.
All providers from around the world. It's going to be an international conference, actually, because there's going to be doctors from and clinicians from all over the world. And we just convene every year to learn the latest research on sex and female sexual stuff. And so I'll talk to my team about it, because maybe it'd be really cool to do like a screening there, or like a movie night.
It would be really cool.
That would be so fun.
Yeah. And these are all clinicians and, psychologists, sex therapists, pelvic floor therapists, doctors, PAs, nurses, and they're all here to learn and really evolve their sexual medicine practices. So I will speak to them about that, because
that would be so cool.
Yeah,
awesome.
Really but cool. It's in Atlanta. Keep you guys posted.
Cool.
But I mean, that is the organization. Like if someone's trying to figure out who to find in their arena to help their, I hate to say it, broken vagina, but We always, all of us that have had broken vaginas, that's how we refer to it.
We're allowed to say it. It's our thing.
Yeah.
But you better not tell me.
Exactly. You don't say it, but I can say it.
And your doctor should say, you don't have a broken vagina, dear. So,
Yet, no, but we can say it. It's a fun little thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think that, just going to that www.isswsh.org, that's where we could find, someone that can help, even if they don't do the procedure, because not a lot of people are trained in vestibulectomies and how to do a full vestibular versus like just a bottom part of the vestibule. You have to actually remove the whole part. Those nuances are important too to get pain removed. But well, what do you guys have? Like, what's your big, like, if you had one statement to make to people about the movie or about your journeys, about how to help yourself, like, what would you tell our listeners right now? Go see the movie if it's coming out. If it's coming out at one of your film festivals, and I'm going to keep posting about it, and you guys can, follow you guys on your socials as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I was going to say where our Instagram is ladyparts_film. And we have a link in bio with like everything there. And whenever we are in a festival, it will be, trust me, we will make it known, on the Instagram feed. So please follow us and keep updated.
I would say, I would tell people, don't be scared by the vagina aspect or the medical aspect of our film. It's a heartwarming comedy about how family comes together, even when you don't want them to, but you need them to.
As we say, a vagina is a family affair.
From there, life starts there, right? So
yes.
Yeah.
I think my biggest advice is, if there isn't a seat at the table, then bring a folding chair and put your own chair there. And, whether that relates to this story, Lady Parts, where she kind of has to advocate for herself, or me and Nancy's journeys where we've had to advocate for ourselves, or us female filmmakers had to advocate for ourselves. And, the story doesn't get made because we've waited around for it to happen. It gets made because we felt really passionate about it. And we were saying, you know what? It's going to happen. I don't care anymore. We're doing it. And you can totally do that.
You can totally do that. Yeah. That's awesome. I love that you guys did this. I can't wait to see it. I'm going to talk to Ishwish about it. That would be amazing. That'd be really cool.
That would be very cool.
And then, and I think actually just for people to understand, like even students to understand, even like residents, like when you gaslight someone like this, it has a profound effect on patients, like I feel like, this is something that we could even like think about distributing for educational purposes to people at some point, but, or at least they should come watch it, like push them to like, make it part of their curriculum or something.
Yeah, sure.
That'd be amazing.
Teach over at Northwestern, so I'll make sure that
very cool.
My students and residents, think about coming to this.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, and there's a whole forum on female sexual medicine now that was designed by medical students, and they're really pushing the narrative to try to learn more about female sexual medicine. So
that's great.
Like maybe I'll connect you guys too to make sure we can get some students to understand, what's happening to patients, and like, yeah, this is funny. There's some euphemisms, whatever, but like, this should be something that they take for serious, as well.
Sure. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Anyway, I appreciate you guys being here. I love this story. I love that you guys are doing this. I love that you took the bull by the horn and decided to do it yourself. That's what we have to do sometimes. But like I say, I'm here to educate so people can learn how to advocate for themselves. And that's my motto here with my podcast. So thank you, everyone, for joining Dino Girl Presents Sex, Drugs, and Hormones. I'm going to put a lot in the show notes so that you guys know where to find Bonnie and Nancy, know where to get to see Lady Parts if it comes to a city near you. Or hopefully maybe it gets picked up by Netflix and then you can just at some point, so we can see. But yeah, I appreciate you guys telling your story. I appreciate you bringing this story, to film. And I hope that it has a lot of success for you guys and your efforts, and for patients out there that are suffering.
Well, thank you so much. This has been great.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.